to start my recording. And if you already started it, great. But anyway, it will work very, very well. Okay. Hoy, ¿qué vamos a hacer? Vamos a corregir so you can get set up, so you can have your stuff ready to go. I'm just going to show you whatever papers or screens you may need. We are going to kind of do a correction on this adjective thing. So this page that I sent you last week, whether you scribbled the answers down, you know, whatever, have that ready. I will show you what the answers are for that. Okay, we're going to do a correction. So I want to give you some time to either find that if you put it in a computer file, or, you know, if you wrote it out on a piece of paper, give you some time to check that out. Bien, so while you, oh, see.
It still has me on this leader in the 2021 Gartner Magic Quadrant page. So I don't see anything else.
Where? I'm sorry, on your computer right now?
Yeah. I don't
just took the share screen off. So now, can you see the share screen now?
I can see you, and I see this. It says leader in the 2021 Gartner Magic Quadrant for meeting solutions.
I don't know what that is. Interesting. You got competing meetings going on, my dear. I think I have no idea.
I don't know what that is. I thought it was part of you.
I'm going to suggest, you know what I would suggest? Why don't you log out and log back on?
Okay.
I think Zoom's having a like, that's more than a hiccup. That's a barf.
Oh, okay. I think I got you back now.
You do? Okay, good.
Okay.
Bueno, okay. Vale. Uy, magnifico. We're going to split our day between kind of figuring out a little bit with these adjectives, and you'll hear more of these as we go along, and starting to work on this mystery, this conundrum that is verbs in Spanish. So we're going to do all that. I would like you, however, to start off, because I promised to do this last week and I didn't. Vamos a hablar de la casa. We're going to start off with our talk about the house. I said, oh, prepare something where you just talk about your house. So I'm going to start with the preparation of talking about my house, okay? And then we're going to look at some examples from here, or maybe we'll look at an example here. Well, no, we're not going to, because we're going to do this one later, but vamos a hablar de la casa. We're going to talk about the house. And I just want a short description. So I'll give you an example. Un ejemplo. Voy a hablar a ustedes sobre mi casa. Mi casa. Muy fácil. Muy sencillo. Really, really simple. Okay. Yo tengo una casa bastante grande, one kind of big. Mi casa tiene, my house has, mi casa tiene dos pisos.
2 floors.
¿Entiendes? Sí, exacto, muy bien. Mi casa tiene 2 pisos. En el primer piso.
In the first floor.
Sí, tengo una cocina,
have a kitchen,
un comedor. Mi comedor es pequeño.
Dining room.
Mi comedor es pequeño, pero mi cocina es grande. Mi cocina es grande. Bueno, entonces tengo una sala, yo tengo una sala muy grande, muy grande. Y también en el primer piso hay 3 habitaciones.
Bedrooms.
2 baños.
2 bathrooms.
Y un estudio para pintar. Un estudio para pintar. Mi hija es estudiante de arte Y
An art
ella
studio?
pinta, pinta, pinta. No, no dibuja, no, no.
Painting studio.
Sí, ella pinta,
Oh,
pinta. Ah, ok. Bueno, en el segundo piso
second story.
Mhm.
hay
I.
una oficina
One office.
para mi esposo.
That's
Es la oficina de mi esposo. Tiene 5 computadoras. Mucho
Ay,
hay mucho equipo electrónico, muchas cosas curiosas, lots of curious things. Y un baño grande y un baño más muy grande que está en el segundo piso. ¿Bien?
one big
Okay.
bathroom.
Now, my description is more elaborate. Yours doesn't have to be that elaborate, but talk to me about what kind of rooms you've got in your, quizás apartamento. Maybe you live in an apartment. Está bien. Condominio. Maybe you live in a condominium. No importa, doesn't matter. Who'd like to start off with telling us a little bit about your house? La casa. Algo fácil, something very easy.
Okay.
Okay, Hillary. Bueno.
Tengo una casa con 9 habitaciones.
Wow.
Mi casa tiene un piso, hoy 3 cuartos, una oficina, una cocina, 2 baños, una sala, un comedor, un garaje
Garaje, sí, garaje.
con 2 carros
Bien.
y un patio.
Y un patio.
También hay una piscina.
Una piscina, qué magnífica.
Mi casa está en un barrio bonito.
Bien. Hillary, dime, tell me, ¿hay muchas plantas en tu patio?
Sí,
Bien. Bueno,
Muchos flores.
sí.
muchas
Amarillo.
flores amarillas. Flores.
Roja,
Yeah, roja.
Morado, no,
Blanca.
Purple,
no,
moradas,
rosada.
rosada.
Mm,
Flores rosadas. Y cuando describimos, cuando describimos las flores, son flores amarillas, flores moradas, flores rojas, flores
Blancas.
rosadas, blancas, sí,
Ujú.
exacto. Porque las flores, ¿bien? Las flores. Tengo plantas en mi patio también, pero no hay flores. Hay plantas, pero no están, no tienen flores ahora. Bien. Ok. Vale, magnífico. Gracias, Hillary. ¿Alguien más? Somebody else have a quick description of their house. Muy bien, Hillary. Gracias. ¿Alguien más? No, Tomás, bien.
Mi casa tiene 3 dormitorios. Mi casa tiene 2 baños. Mi casa has 2 garajes. 2 garages.
Garajes.
Garajes. Mi casa es de un nivel.
Un nivel, one floor. Bien.
Mi casa tiene piscina, pool.
Bien. Sí.
Mi casa tiene un piso de baldosas.
Baldosas,
Baldosas.
tiles.
C.
Like on the floor. Yeah.
Mhm. That's it.
Excelente. Y Tomás, tu oficina es muy grande, ¿verdad?
Oficina medium, not grande.
No es grande.
No,
Es una oficina pequeña.
look, no.
Oh, bien. Okay. Y hay un pescado, there's a fish en la pared. ¿Sí? Muy arriba.
Sí, sí, sí.
En la pared hay un pescado, there's a nice fish. Okay.
Largemouth bass.
Ay, bien. Tomás es pescador. Tomás is a fisherman. Es gran pescador. He is a great fisherman. Bien. Excelente, excelente. Me gusta tu oficina. I like your office. Vale, bueno. ¿Alguien más? Anybody else got a description for us here?
I didn't prepare, but I'll try.
Okay.
Okay.
Bien. Es el espíritu. That's the spirit. Let's go.
Mi casa tiene, is it? Uno cocina,
Cocina.
cocina, dos baños,
Baños.
14,
14 es 14.
no,
Cuatro.
cuatro, cama, no, cama,
Camas son tres. Cuatro
Cuarto.
habitaciones. Bedrooms. Habitaciones.
okay.
Habitaciones, or you can say dormitorios.
Oh, okay. Okay.
bien.
Cuatro dormitorios, un comedor,
Un comedor, bien.
una piscina,
Ok.
muchas flores, muchas flores.
Muchas flores, bien. Muchas flores. Excelente. Bueno.
No escaleras.
Stairs.
No.
No hay.
Yeah.
No hay. There
No
aren't.
escaleras.
No hay escaleras. Bien. Excelente. Bueno, algo más. Anything else? Tamara, sí o no?
I'm done. Fini.
Okay. Okay. Should we move on to a quick description of looking at some house layouts and see if you can tell me some things about the houses?
Sí.
See? Bien? Okay. So you're going to hear and see some uses of tiene and es and I, and we're going to see if you know these rooms for the house, and then we're going to move on with the adjective thing for a bit. Vale, vamos a practicar aquí, vamos a practicar. We're going to practice here. ¿Cómo se llama? What do we call? ¿Cómo se llama este cuarto? What do we call this room?
Sala.
Es la sala.
Sala.
Es la sala. Sometimes if a sala is really huge, we might call it a salón instead of sala. Salón. Salon can be used for big rooms like conference rooms, or, you know, if somebody has one of those really big, nice cavernous houses, like huge, enorme. Okay. Es
Sala grande.
Una sala grande, sí. Bien, vamos a hablar de esta sala. We're going to talk about this living room.
Sala.
Es la sala.
Sala.
Identificar. We're just identifying. You cannot say está la sala. Está. We can't use está because we're not talking about where it's located. We're talking about what this room is called, what it is. Es la sala. Es la sala. La sala tiene un sofá grande. Tiene. El sofá es gris.
Right.
Bien. Descripción. And I don't need to make gris into any different form. Es gris, okay? Hay dos mesas o mesitas, you know, little side tables, okay?
Oh.
Mesita makes it a small table. Putting ita on the end makes it small. That's all.
Okay.
Tiene un televisor en la pared. En la pared tiene un televisor, una televisión. Un televisor es TV set.
Oh,
Sí,
Televisión es TV también, pero un televisor, TV set. Ok. Está en la pared, it's on the wall. Está en la pared, it's on the wall. Hay dos ventanas en la sala. Hay dos lámparas, ¿sí? Están en las mesitas. And we know están is talking about lámparas because it follows up. So notice what happens. If I say hay dos lámparas, I identify what I'm talking about, lamps. So when I follow up and when I say they're on the tables, I don't even have to use the word lamps again. I just conjugate that verb estar to tell where they are. And I'm talking about two things. So están en las mesitas just means they're on the side tables. And I don't need to say what they are because you heard me say lámparas before, right? This is how context is going to carry over. So sometimes we name the objects we're talking about. And then if I do a follow-up and I know you understand the context, I can leave off lámparas in that second phrase because you know what I'm talking about. Hay dos lámparas, están en las mesitas. Bien? You
so
know?
you're not using the word they are on the table.
No,
You don't need the they.
no, quite often, not all the time. Sometimes people will use a word they if they're not sure, the context, or, they may add it in for just making sure everything is all clear. But a lot of times those words like it or they'll get dropped because when the verb goes into plural, you're talking about a bunch of things. When the verb goes into singular, you're talking about one thing, right? So that happens in Spanish quite a lot. And it may catch you off guard a little bit, but okay. ¿Cómo se llama este cuarto? What do we call this room? ¿Cómo se llama este cuarto?
Dormitorios or
Un
Un
dormitorio.
dormitorio. Un dormitorio.
sí.
Una habitación. There are many words for this room. Sadly, it's kind of a regional thing. People might call it alcoba. People might call it dormitorio, which is easy for us to remember because we've got that word or dormitory where college kids sleep. Habitación. If you're in a hotel, en un hotel, they are most likely to call this either un cuarto, a room, or una habitación. Habitación and cuarto are the two most common when you're in a hotel. That is what you will hear the most often. Okay. Okay. ¿Qué podemos decir? What can we say? Okay. Es un dormitorio. I'm just identifying what it is. Es un dormitorio. Es una habitación. I just used the other word. Tiene, it has. Tiene una cama grande.
big bed. Yeah.
Una cama grande. Es una cama de madera. De madera. Madera. I'm telling what this bed is made out of. Madera. Knock on
Wood.
wood. Okay. Now, here is one little thing. We might say a wood bed, a bed made out of wood, a wooden frame. Yeah, we've got a word wooden. That wooden does not exist in Spanish. When you talk about the material something is made out of, it's not an adjective anymore. It is a material, and that is a noun. So, es una cama de madera. It's a wooden table. It's a table of wood. And that word madera is a noun. It is not wooden. De madera translates as the idea of wooden, but it just tells what material something is made out of. Okay. If this were made out of, well, la taza es de cerámica. La taza es de cerámica. It is a ceramic cup. but ceramic doesn't exist as a description like grande or pequeño or bonita or bonito. Cerámica is a thing. So when you talk about what some material something is made out of, it's going to stay as de and the material. Okay. Es de papel. Es de papel. Es un librito de papel. This is a little booklet made out of paper. See? Es de cerámica. Es de cerámica.
You're a badger. Are you a badger?
Oh, este? No, no, no.
Oh, no. Oh. Okay.
Okay. Bien. Vale. Okay, so let's move on. We left off with es una cama de madera. It tells what it's made out of. Ah, tiene una mesita con lámpara. Tiene una mesita con una lámpara, sí. Hay una cómoda con un espejo. Con just means with, ¿sí? Hay uno, dos, tres ventanas. Hay tres ventanas. Perdón. Hay tres ventanas con cortinas. There are 3 windows with curtains.
Curtains.
Cortinas, ¿sí?
I have a question. Sorry. How do
Easy.
how do you know when to put the article after con or not? Like you have con.
Oh, you know what? I should have put an una here to make that
Oh.
consistent for you. See, hay
So
una
it's just-
lámpara.
There's
I think,
one, when there's one, you put una or un.
yeah, because I'm just saying there's one. Yeah,
And the other
there's
ones you don't need it. Yeah, and the other ones you don't need it. Cortinas.
Yeah, and notice sometimes I use I with just a.
Mm.
Sometimes I use I with a number. If I've got multiple, that's where I'm going to plug in my idea of the number.
Mhm.
Okay. You know, I could have down here, Hillary said, hay unas ventanas. There are some windows, but I chose instead to give a number. So
Mm.
again, you know,
Mhm.
es flexible, ¿sí?
Mhm.
Es flexible. It's flexible. Hay 3 ventanas con cortinas. Hay alfombra. Hay una alfombra en el suelo. There's a rug on the floor. Sometimes some places will call this el piso, floor. Suelo is used for floor. Piso is used for floor. La alfombra está en el suelo. La alfombra está en el suelo gives me a location for how you feel or where you are. Always use the verb estar. So la alfombra está en el suelo tells me where it's located. If I use instead of estar, just I, that word I is the nice one because it never changes form, right? I just means there is a rug. There is, hay una alfombra en el suelo. Bien, ok. Vale. ¿Cómo se llama? Oh,
Excuse
sí,
me,
sí.
the word for room, those
Sí,
2
sí.
words at the top, one of them's feminine and one of them's masculine, and it's still a room. Dormitory is masculine.
Sí,
and
sí.
Habitation or whatever is. feminine.
Habitación. Habitación is a feminine word, yes.
Yeah.
Habitación
Okay,
is
well.
feminine because that word habitación ends in yon.
I know.
And that
But-
makes it feminine, but dormitorio ends in an o, and that makes it a masculine word. Even though they're talking about the same kind of room, those 2 words are different genders.
Yeah, that's to me. So it's not the thing that is masculine or feminine. It's the word that describes the thing.
The word, yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Yes. Sí, exacto. Yes. Because with things, well, they're not gender driven. Actually, there are people doing studies on that. Oh, I won't bore you with that intricacy, except that they've discovered that people in different languages think of objects, things in feminine and masculine terms, depending on their language.
And-
So,
I'm sorry.
so when people, when German people describe a bridge, they describe it with one, whatever gender is in their language, but Spanish people will describe it in like, you know, so they'll like give masculine type descriptions or feminine type descriptions sometimes with the words. It's an interesting thing. Yeah.
And is alfombra a rug or a carpet?
Alfombra is a rug, a carpet. Yeah.
Oh.
La alfombra.
Well,
Carpet,
either.
rug, same thing. Lo mismo. Okay. Vale. ¿Cómo se llama el cuarto? What do we call this room?
Una cocina.
Es una cocina. And it's important not to pronounce it as cocina, muy italiano. That is very Italian, cocina. If you listen to cooking shows, you probably heard cocina, cocina, or cucina. I think they have it in Italian. I'm not sure. No estoy segura.
Yeah.
But cocina, cocina.
Cocina.
Cocina, es una cocina. Es una cocina grande. Tengo una descripción. Sí, tengo una descripción. Ah, bien, bien, bien. Ah, la descripción. Ah, la cocina no tiene mesa. It has no
Table.
table. Ah, tiene nevera. It's got a fridge. Tiene una nevera. Let's put an una in there. I'm trying to make everything fit. My little box isn't quite big enough. Tiene una nevera. Tiene una nevera. It's got a, it's got a fridge.
Correct.
There are different words for refrigerator too. You may hear people use un refrigerador, and here, Susana, el refrigerador, D-O-R, makes it an el, masculine word, el refrigerador. But an a at the end of the word, nevera, makes it feminine, even though those mean the same thing. So regionally or in different countries, people may call it el refrigerador. People may call it la nevera. Depends on where you are. Okay. Depende. Some people even shorten it to refri, because it's shorter than refrigerador. Like we say fridge. Right?
What about la cocina es hermosa?
Es hermosa, muy bien. La cocina, sí, la cocina es hermosa. Es una cocina muy hermosa.
What's that mean? I forget.
Hermosa, beautiful.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Hermosa is beautiful?
Hermosa is beautiful. There are a lot of words for beautiful. We'll take a look at that in our adjective section shortly. Interestingly, Spanish has lots of words to describe beautiful and kind of fewer to describe ugly. So, well, that
But
tells you something. Yeah.
Hermosa is also sister?
No, hermana.
Oh,
Hermana.
hermana. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, gracias, Hillary.
Hermana.
Thank you for that. We'll take a look at that. There are going to be a lot of times when there will be words that are really close together. They're only different by a few letters, but they're different words. Oh, how annoying that happens. You know what? That happens in English too. We just don't think
Yeah.
about it. It happens in English as well. But see, hermana, sister, but hermosa, hermosa. All right, hermosa, beautiful. Es una cocina hermosa. Tiene una estufa.
Stove?
Oh,
Tiene una estufa, sí, stove. Tiene un horno, that's the part where you bake, sí. Tiene un horno. El horno, sí, el horno. Tiene una puerta. Hay una puerta en la cocina. Tiene una puerta. Tiene gabinetes, 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 gabinete, gabinetes. Tiene 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 gabinetes. ¿Bien?
¿O 10?
Gabinetes, cabinets, gabinetes. Y tiene un, ¿dónde? Tiene un lavaplatos. Tiene
Dishwasher.
un dishwasher.
The plate.
Sí, sí,
Plato.
plato, plato, ok, platos, muchos platos. Bueno, entonces, lavaplatos es the machine that scrubs them all down. Lavaplatos, el lavaplatos. Bueno, a ver, hay un cuarto más. Oh,
It's
sí,
not plateau. There was an S on the end. and
there
there's only
is an
one.
S on the end. There are some
of
words
place?
in Spanish. This is not something to memorize now, just something to kind of take and absorb. Un lavaplatos is not a mistake. You say, wait a minute, that's a thing, a noun, lavaplatos, dishwasher. And it's only one dishwasher, but it's got an S at the end. That can't be right. It is right. There are some words in Spanish, some nouns in Spanish that end in an S, but they may be singular. I'll give you, there aren't a lot that do this, but there are some. And that means we're combining two items to make one word, kind of like what German does. German loves to tag on like lots of words, and they get words this long in German. They're really hard to pronounce.
Right.
And okay, so it's kind of like that, but simpler than what you hear with German. So we take the word lava and platos.
Mhm,
So that word means washes dishes,
mhm.
but it's one thing.
Right. Okay.
So because it washes a bunch of dishes, we leave it as platos, lava platos. The word for umbrella is paraguas. It ends in an S. And parar means to do this, to
Push away. Push.
stop,
Oh.
to stop. An umbrella stops water from falling on your head. So it stops waters, drops of water. Paraguas is another word that does that. Another word that does that is a can opener, and they call it opens cans. Cans, like a tin can, is the word latas with an S at the end. Abre latas. Abre latas is a can opener. So there are some words in Spanish where they combine an action word with the thing it does that action too. Lava platos.
Okay.
Abre, yeah, abre latas. So there are some words like that. Once in a while you'll run into them, but not every day. Okay. ¿Cómo se llama este cuarto? What do we call this room? ¿Cómo se llama?
Commodore.
Un
Es el
comedor.
comedor. Es el comedor. Es el comedor. Tiene una mesa. Es una mesa redonda. Redonda. Es una mesa redonda. Redonda. What is it? ¿Qué es redonda?
Mirror,
Round.
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 Es una mesa redonda, circular. Bien.
Sí.
Circular es redonda. No tiene cuatro.
Ay,
Ay, no, perdón. Tiene una mesa. ¿Cuántas sillas hay en el comedor? ¿Cuántas sillas? Silla. Hay 8 sillas
De madera.
de madera. They're made out of
Madera.
wood. Bien. Tiene 2 ventanas.
Right.
2 windows.
Tiene 2 ventanas. Hay un espejo que
Yeah.
está en la pared.
On the wall.
That's on the wall. There is, I'm just saying it exists. Hay un espejo que está, which means that is located, that sits up there, que está en la pared. La pared. ¿Bien?
Bien.
Bien, magnífico. Ok. A ver, vamos a ver. So those are just some little descriptions to help you along the way. I will send you all of those so that you can look at them again, kind of ponder that. We're going to take a look at this thing that is adjectives again, because adjectives, we're going to look at the answers for this page. And I asked you to do just the first 15, I think, and we skipped one that wasn't there. We skipped number 11, but I'll talk to you about number 11 as we go along. Okay, so all of these words in parentheses are adjectives. They are descriptions. They are not things. They are not actions. They tell us what something looks like or feels like or acts like. They paint a little picture in our head of what that thing is like. And those words are called adjectives. And adjectives have to be in the same form as the thing they talk about. So we have to look at whether the adjective is masculine or feminine, whether it's singular or plural. Okay. But the thing is, some of these adjectives will be easier. Some adjectives will only be singular and plural. The adjectives that end in O, we have to pay attention to the thing it talks about. If an adjective ends in O, that O might have to change to an A at the end. It might have to be plural and tag on an S, right? If the adjective does not end in O, the majority of the time, like 85–90% of the time, it will just stay in one form if it doesn't end in O. So let's look at the ones that don't end in O. Importante will be the same for masculine, feminine. I only have to worry about plural. Simpático, oh, I've got a bunch of forms. Azul does not end in O. Okay. Difícil, difficult, does not end in O. Italiano ends in O. Delicioso ends in O. Perezoso, which means lazy, ends in O. Malo ends in O. Bueno ends in O. Alemán is a rule breaker. That word means German, and we'll come back to that later. Rubio ends in O. Imposible does not end in O. Fácil does not end in O. Gris does not end in O. So we're going to have a bunch of these, which we won't have to worry about masculine and feminine. We'll just worry about singular and plural. Other ones, we're going to have to think about the O ending or the A ending or a plural S ending. Okay, vamos a ver. Aquí. La escuela es importante. Importante doesn't change form. Escuela is a feminine thing, but importante, because it doesn't end in O, uses the same form for masculine, feminine. Okay, ¿está bien? We're good with that so far? Las chicas son simpáticas. The girls are nice. They're pleasant people. Okay. Simpática, simpático is a stronger way of saying nice. Nice in English has become a kind of bland word. Oh, that's nice. How blah. Well, it is, isn't it? Yeah. Sometimes when somebody says, well, that was nice, you wonder if they really thought it was. But simpático is like, wow. Yeah. Somebody said, eres muy simpático, eres muy simpática. They're really, it's a big compliment, okay? Las chicas son simpáticas. Marge Simpson tiene el pelo azul. Pelo, by the way, is a masculine thing. Even though this is on a woman, it is a masculine thing. It ends in an O. It is a thing, a noun that ends in O. So, el pelo azul. But las plumas son azules. Azul doesn't go to a feminine because it doesn't end in O, but we do make it plural, just like you made nouns plural, okay? Bien. Los libros son difíciles. The books are difficult, they're hard. Difíciles has to go into a plural form, but I don't worry about the masculine, feminine, because difícil ends in an L, right? Now Italiano ends in an O. I've got to pay attention to all those factors, masculine, feminine, singular, plural. Los carros Fiat son italianos. Fiat es la marca. Fiat is just the name marker. It's just the brand name, right? Los carros Fiat son italianos. Las papas fritas, French fries. This is the way they say French fries. It's just fried potatoes. Las papas fritas son deliciosas. Las papas fritas son deliciosas. Okay. Los chicos son perezosos. Perezosos means lazy. Doesn't want to do much. Perezoso needs to be masculine, but it also needs to be plural because we're talking about los chicos. Perezosos, okay? Las chicas son muy malas. The girls are very bad. Malas chicas, see? And notice these are all descriptions about what these things are really like. They don't talk about how anybody feels in their heart of hearts. They talk about what those people or things are like. So we're using ser all the way up and down. Ser, es, son, all the way down. Okay, we're going to come back to 11 in a minute. Perdón, 10, número 10. Los estudiantes son buenos. The students are good. Buenos, because estudiantes is more than one. Okay, we're going to come back to 11 in a minute. So I'm going to not even show that to you yet. Los chicos son rubios. The boys are blonde. Literally, we say they're blondes. Rubios. Chicos, masculine and plural. Rubios, masculine and plural. Las mujeres son imposibles. The women are impossible, or it might be talking about all women in general are impossible. Las mujeres son imposibles. And imposible does not end in O. So it doesn't matter that mujer is feminine, right? It's going to use the same form. We just make it a more than one, a plural form. Imposibles, okay? Las tareas de biología son fáciles. Wow, those biology projects, the homework, they're easy. Fáciles. I need to make that plural. Las nubes, clouds. Clouds. Las nubes, como esto aquí. Las nubes son grises. The clouds are gray. And literally they have to say the clouds are grays. How weird, but that's what they do. Nubes is plural. Gris ends in S. So I don't worry about the masculine, feminine. I just make it plural. Las nubes son grises. Bien? Okay. We're going to go back and talk to our one oddball. Número 11. La mujer rubia es alemana. That is a rule breaker. It is a rule breaker. Alemán means German. So I'm just going to tell you this. Don't get too hung up on it. I have lots of examples after alemana. La mujer rubia es alemana. The blonde woman is German. She is from Germany. Okay. When we have adjectives of nationality, lots of nationalities end in O. So, Italiano, Mexicano, Chileno, Peruano, Boliviano, Colombiano, okay? But some nationalities don't end in O. And when that happens, I do have to go flat out into masculine, feminine forms, okay? So just know that. There's no way for you to memorize all those right now, but just be aware when we talk about nationalities that do not end in O, like Alemán, we do need a feminine form, alemana. So here are some very common nationalities that do not end in O. Francés, French, does get a feminine form, francesa. Español does not end in O, but it does get a feminine form, española. Inglés, English, does not end in O, but it does need a feminine form, inglesa. Okay, so just know that is one of those rule breakers. These are adjectives that don't end in O, but I do need to have a feminine form because they're nationalities. It's just a thing they do. Okay, bien. Let's take a look at the end of the list. 16. Los platos españoles, Spanish dishes, and this is one of those nationality words that doesn't end at all. Los platos españoles son ricos. Ricos can mean rich, like has a lot of money. Ricos here means delicious. It's a synonym for delicioso. Okay. Ricos, son ricos. They're yummy. Okay. Los elefantes son enormes. Elephants are enormous.
Los elefantes.
Yeah, los elefantes. And you know what elefantes are. Elefantes. And notice there's no PH. If you got an F sound, it's spelled with F. Okay. Los elefantes son enormes. Next we're going to talk about grass that you walk on. La hierba. La hierba es verde.
Yeah.
La hierba es verde. Actually, often they call the kind of grass that is smoked also hierba. Okay. La hierba es verde. Okay. Oh, but now if I want to talk about eyes being green, okay. Los ojos son verdes. Los ojos son verdes. Now verdes is plural because ojos, more than one. Okay. And now I'm going to be describing two different things. This is the sticker at the end. The girl in the red uniform is very athletic. What is red? Is the girl red or is the uniform red?
Uniform.
The uniform's red. So the red word will have to go masculine. La chica en. La chica en el uniforme rojo. But now, the uniform is not athletic. The
Girl is.
girl is athletic. So that word's talking about girl. It's not talking about the uniform. A uniform can't be athletic. La chica en el uniforme rojo es muy atlética. Is very gifted athletically. Atlética. Bien?
Sí.
So you will hear that when you go and do all those little stories, you'll hear that happening as they start describing things. And that is all good. Just be a sponge and absorb that all in. This whole adjective thing is very, very difficult for those of us who are native speakers of English because we don't do anything even close to that. Okay. The sports cars are red. Okay. But it's los carros deportivos, plural, son rojos. It's very, very hard for those of us who speak English to get used to getting those adjectives in the right forms, okay? And that really takes a lot of practice, kind of like using the verbs, which we're going to do soon, takes a lot of practice. So here's what I'm going to tell you. The most important thing right now is to not fixate or get all tied up in a knot over the forms yet. Do try to learn and listen to stories that have a lot of adjectives so that you build up some vocabulary and you know, oh, this word describes, yeah? And pay attention to how they're used when you hear stories. because the more examples you hear, the more it will start to sound natural, but it takes a while for that to feel like a normal pattern. Okay. Bien. Let's take a look at, okay. I think we did a lot of these, see? Muchos. We did a lot of these last week, right? See? So, you know, you need to hear lots of examples. Son pantalones cortos. Wow, they're shorts. Son pantalones largos. No son pantalones grandes. You need to see lots of examples like this. Es una habitación grande. Es un cuarto grande. Es una habitación pequeña. Es un cuarto pequeño. You need to see lots of examples like that. Es una calle estrecha. Es un camino estrecho. Es una calle ancha. Es un camino ancho. You need to hear lots of examples. I'm going to see if I can find a word wall. There's a little website that I think might have some adjectives on. And if I find a good example of that on there, I will send a link for you in the post-class email. Okay. Bien. I'm going to leave that for a while unless there is a question about adjectives. Hay una pregunta, ¿no? The most important thing is to build up that vocabulary so that you can like create a mental picture of, you know, grande, enorme, pequeño, pequeño. See, create a mental picture of it. Okay. And you know, the forms will come later. When somebody hears you, it is easier for you, it's better for you to make a mistake with that adjective being in the wrong form, but to get the word right. To know that grande is, or that alto means very tall, right? It's more important to get the idea of alto meaning tall, because if you give the wrong form of alto, alto, alta, altos, altas, okay, they'll know you got the form wrong, but they know you mean tall. You see where I'm going with that?
Okay.
It's more important to get the word right. If you get the form wrong, you can fix that later. And by the way, Spanish speakers may make that mistake themselves. You know how sometimes your brain shoots in 100 directions, and you know, maybe you were going to use one word, but you then change your mind, use a different word, and that happens with native speakers as well, and they just correct themselves. So yeah, don't get tied up in a knot over it, but do know that those forms are out there. Okay, vamos a ver. A menos que, unless there is a question. Did you get a chance to watch the videos on verbs? We're going to switch gears to verbs. Verbos, see? Bien? Okay. So just like, gotta find my right. Aquí. And I'll send you all these charts, so don't furiously copy notes. Be a sponge. Absorb. Just like you learned these verbs first, because to say something is a certain way or they are a certain way is like super basic. Just like you had to memorize all these forms, you know, soy, eres, es, somos, son, estoy, estás, está, estamos, están. And then I've got this in yellow, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tienen. Wow, those are all those things. You got to memorize those. And these are what we call irregular verbs. They don't follow a real pattern. Just like we have the verb to be, but the words am, is, are don't look anything like be, that basic word. These are irregular, like to be is irregular in English, okay? And these are our verb forms that don't follow a pattern, but what will start to form a pattern is that yo will always take a certain kind of ending. Tu will always take a certain kind of ending. Talking about one person, one human being will always take a certain kind of ending. And talking about I am in the group, but I have more than one person, will always take a certain kind of ending. And talking about more than one person, okay, a group, a plural group of people, always take a certain kind of ending. That's going to happen when we have what we call regular verbs. And you know, there's nothing in the way they're spelled that makes them regular versus irregular. You just have to know, oh, that's a regular verb, and you'll get to know it and say, oh, of course, that is regular, just from hearing it a lot and seeing it written out a lot. Regular verbs will follow a predictable pattern, so that if you know which category of verbs it falls into, you'll know how to conjugate that verb, how to change it into the right form. The verbs have more forms in Spanish than they do in English. I walk, you walk, but he walks. Walk and walks, that's it. Talk and talks, that's it. See and sees, that's it. Watch and watches, that's it. That's all we do in English, but in Spanish, the verb is going to be conjugated to tell us who is doing the action. Also tells us when that action is happening. These are all present tense. And present tense means that activity is going on now, or it can even be interpreted to very near future, like really soon. Not 5 years from now, future, but in the next hour or so, you know, the next couple of hours. Sometimes present tense can convey that idea, you know, from context. Okay, but to keep it simple, present tense means something is happening right now, not it happened yesterday, okay? And present tense will be predictable. So if it's a regular verb, all verbs in Spanish fall into one of three categories. They are either AR verbs, they have an ending in AR, or they are ER verbs having an ending in ER, or the infinitive is an IR verb, meaning it ends in IR, okay? And the infinitive means to do something, to walk, to talk, to sing, to dance, to turn something on, to have a drink, okay? To do something is the infinitive. Well, the AR and the ER and the IR is to do something. And we conjugate it into these forms. But the nice thing to know, number one is that AR verbs are the big category. Most verbs in Spanish fall into this category of AR verbs. Probably 60% of the verbs in Spanish are AR verbs. That's a lot. It is the most common. ER would be the next most common. IR verbs, that's the smallest category. There are fewer IR verbs than, wow, if you put all these verbs together, they way outweigh the IR verbs, okay? But there are three distinct infinitives to do something, okay? AR verbs will always follow this pattern. O, yo always gets an O ending. We take off the AR from the end of the verb and we put an O on the end, and it means I'm doing it by myself. And notice, here's the nice thing. In Spanish, ER verbs also get the O ending, and IR verbs also get the O ending. So straight across the board, if I am doing the action by myself, we take off the AR or the ER and the IR and you stick an O ending on it. This O is not the O of like masculine things. It is not the O of libro. This O does not say masculine. This O is talking about verbs, actions. And for verbs, that O ending means only one person can do this. Me. Okay? Think of the O from ego. It's all about me. Okay? O as that ending is always going to be yo doing the action. For AR verbs, let's look just at AR verbs. This ah vowel is going to really dominate what the other conjugations do. This ah is going to pop up. Outside of yo, this ah is going to pop up in every conjugation form because it's an AR verb. So that ah sound has to come through somewhere in that conjugation, except for yo. Okay. The S at the end for a verb. For a verb, the S at the end does not mean more than one. It means tú, has. Okay. The naked A vowel by itself means one person or one thing is doing that action. The mos ending is going to mean we. So if it's an AR verb, we're going to pair up a with that we ending, and it becomes amos. We're going to skip the vosotros because that's only in Spain to talk about more than one person or more than one thing, more than one animal, more than one whatever, doing that action. And N is going to always end that up. I am not in the group. I'm talking about more than one thing. And with an AR verb, we're going to have that vowel of A come back, an. So, o, as, a, amos, an. For regular AR verbs, we're just going to get rid of the AR and we stick one of these endings on there. We don't even have to define who's doing it if we don't want to. Yo can only be an, like bailo for bailar, to dance. Bailo can only mean I'm doing it. So I don't bother with yo bailo. I don't bother with yo. It's just bailo. Okay. In English, you can't say dance very well. Somebody, who you're talking about? We have to include the I. In Spanish, you can drop the word I, you can drop the word you can drop the word we. You may or may not drop the he, the she, because maybe you have to be a little more specific. But often we drop the person who's doing the action because the verb tells us so much already. The verb basically creates a picture in your head right away of how many people are doing that action. And often who's in that group. If yo is in that group, you already know it's an amos, right? So AR verbs do this. ER and IR verbs are going to share basically the same endings most of the time. These verbs are nice because they share the vast majority of the endings. Once again, yo verbs always end in o. We're going to take the ER off the verb. We're going to take the IR off the verb first. And then if it's an o ending, it's yo doing the action. But again, here is the vowel it's going to lean on real heavy. It's going to lean on that a sound. AR verbs lean heavily, incorporate the ah sound a lot. ER and IR verbs are going to incorporate, use that vowel e sound a lot. And they're going to share most of their forms. So yo gets that o ending all the time. Es is the tu ending for ER and IR verbs. Just the naked vowel by itself, is going to be the ending for ER and IR verbs. En, to talk about more than one person doing the action. will be the verb ending for ER and IR verbs. They're only going to split off ER and IR verbs and go two different directions with these conjugations. And the nice thing is you don't need to know vosotros unless you go to Spain. Yay. Because vosotros is the plural of tú. And they only use it in Spain. So practically speaking, if you're traveling to anywhere in Latin America, here are the two where ER and IR split off and do their own thing. ER is going to take for nosotros that E vowel. And it's going to tag on the E with mos, hemos, hemos, hemos. IR verbs are going to now take the E sound of IR. And with the mos ending, they're going to tack on the E to the mos. Imos, imos. Bien? Okay, we're going to take a look at how these work. Do you have a question about anything in this chart before I leave it?
No.
And Susan, you're on mute, so if you get a question, you'll have to
Is
unmute.
that chart in the book?
I believe it is.
Oh, okay.
Creo que sí. Vamos a ver. Sí.
Oh, no,
It's in the book, but it's using a verb. It's a 97, 97, 97.
Okay.
And 103,
97 has AR and ERIRs are, oh, yeah, it does have the chart exactly on 98, 98, 98. En la página 98. 98. Y en la página 100, page 100. 101, 101. So from 99 through about 101, they will show you all those charts. Okay, so now your English brain is like, oh crap. I've got all these forms because, and if your brain is saying, oh crap, congratulations, you're normal. Because yes, English doesn't need all this stuff. Talk talks, walk walks, spit spits, that's it. Ride rides, that's it. But now I've got to know all these forms. So you have to know, is it an AR verb? You have to know, is it an ER or an IR verb? Because they'll share a lot, right? And you've got to be able to take off the AR, take off the ER, take off the IR, and use all these endings. So that's what we're going to spend our time on for the rest of class today. And also next Tuesday at 8 a.m. Okay, I'm going to send you all these pictures. Here we go. Aquí vamos. Here we go. We need to know what these AR, ER, IR verbs even mean in the first place. It goes from just pure vocabulary, what the heck does this action mean, to how do I use it, meaning using the conjugations. We're going to look at what they mean. And I'm giving you some common ones that are in the book that are easy, that you hear a lot, that are frequent, high frequency, okay? Escuchar, to listen to.
Mhm.
This is a high frequency word. Somebody walks up to you on the street, you ask them for directions. Escucha, listen. Hey, listen. Escucha. Escuchar, to listen to. The idea of to is built in to the verb. Escuchar. And we're going to come back and see how do I use all the forms of escuchar in a little bit, okay? Escuchar, to listen to. Viajar. Wow. Oh, I've got them above. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got these messed up because this could be listened to. Hablar. Okay, here we go. I'm a little bit messed up here. Let's look at this. Hablar. I'm sorry. Hablar. Actually, this could be used for escuchar too, but hablar. Hablar. I'm looking at this guy here. Hablar, to speak.
Mhm.
To speak or to talk. So sorry about the escuchar thing. We're looking below. Hablar. You need to know that hablar means to speak. And then you need to know if you're asking somebody, do you speak Spanish? Now I got to change that word hablar. And I've got to change it into habla usted español. Do you speak Spanish? Okay. Here's step one, just knowing that hablar means to do that,
Speak.
right? But now when I want to say, do you speak Spanish? Habla usted español. Maybe you want to say instead, because you feel very panicked, habla usted inglés. Do you speak
English.
English? And now okay. Can you walk up to somebody and say, hablar, just knowing hablar and nothing else? Can you say, hablar inglés? Yes, you can say it, but will it sound really goofy? Yes, it will sound really goofy.
Bad grammar.
Yeah, it will sound to them, it will sound like this. To speak English?
Mhm.
To speak English? And they'll think, well, who? Their mental reaction listening to you saying hablar español will be who? I don't know who you're talking about. So to know who you're talking about, it will be necessary to turn hablar into habla usted, or to convey the idea to them, hablo inglés. Hablo inglés. Changing that verb tells the person you're talking to, here's who's doing it. So, will you be able to cobble together a very stilted, very basic understanding by just knowing hablar? Okay, yes. But it will sound really weird to them if you don't conjugate the verb. But at least you're getting across the idea of here's the action, hablar. Where I'm going with this? See, bien? Okay. Let's look at this next one. Viajar.
Yeah.
Viajar, to travel. If you want to change this idea of viajar, to travel, into where are you guys traveling? We're going to have to add the where word. To where, a dónde.
¿A dónde?
But I've got to use that word viajar to say you guys. ¿A dónde? ¿A dónde viajan ustedes? Where are you guys traveling? ¿A dónde viajan ustedes? ¿A dónde viajan ustedes? Where traveling you guys? In a question, the you guys will come at the end. We move the verb up front in a question.
Pregunta,
Sí, sí, Tomás.
do we have to have ustedes?
Oh, qué buena pregunta. Tomás, that is an excellent question. Somebody may just not even say ustedes.
Sí.
If there are two of you standing on the corner, like I know it's only got one gal here, but if there are two of you standing there, they might just say, ¿A dónde viajan? And they might drop the ustedes. And if they're looking straight at you, ustedes is understood. It is common for them to drop that. Let's say this is just one girl and a really nice looking young man walks up to her. And not only does he want to help her, he's wondering if maybe he might get to have a drink with her later on. Okay. And okay, he's probably going to talk to her. If they're in their 20s, they're going to talk to each other using tú. They are. But, you know, let's say he wants to make a really good impression. So he uses usted. ¿A dónde viaja? Where are you traveling? He's leaving out this word. he's leaving out the usted. He can. ¿A dónde viajan? Or if he's using the tú thing, because he thinks I'm good looking, I don't have to be that formal. ¿A dónde viajas? Where are you traveling? He'd probably only use that tú form if they're a couple of 20-somethings or they're teenagers talking to each other. 30, 40, 50-year-olds, they're probably going to use usted just to be polite because they don't know you. Okay. Let's look at this next verb. Ar verbs. Caminar. Andar means the exact same thing. They're just synonyms. I can't explain to you why. Some countries like andar more than caminar. Some countries like caminar more than andar. It's not a big deal, but caminar and andar mean this activity, to walk. Okay. If somebody asks, how many minutes do you walk? ¿Cuántos minutos caminas? How many minutes do you go walking? ¿Cuántos caminos camina? ¿Cuántos minutos caminas? Okay. ¿Cuántos minutos andas? Means the same thing. Okay. Now we've got escuchar. How matches up? Escuchar. To listen to. Comprar. To
Buy.
buy stuff. Llegar. Llegar means to arrive, but we often say, well, it means to arrive. But we often say in English, to get to. So if somebody asks, por ejemplo, ¿cómo llego al museo? Literally, they're asking, how do I arrive at the museum? But wow, does that sound weird in English or what? If you want to know the directions, you'll ask it as ¿cómo llego a? How do I get to? But in English, we would translate that idea as how do I get to? So llegar, yes, it literally means to arrive. But for the English idea of asking directions, how do I get to the airport? How do I get to the bus stop? How do I get to the subway station? You'll use this verb llegar. Get to. ¿Cómo llego a? How do I get to? ¿Cómo llego a? Okay. ¿Cómo llego a? So arrive or get to. It's a regular verb. So I arrive at is llego. You arrive or get to a place is llegas. One person arrives or gets to a place, llega. We arrive at a place, llegamos. They arrive at a place, llegan. Bien?
Sí.
Bien. Okay. A ver. Let's look at some more AR verbs. Usar. It's a cognate. It means to use. Uso. Tú usas. La mujer, the woman, la mujer usa la computadora. Usamos, we are using, usamos la computadora. Los estudiantes usan la computadora. Okay? Usan. Bailar, to dance. Bien? We take off the AR to use that. Bailo is just for yo. Bailas for tú. La mujer baila, the woman dances. El hombre baila, the man dances. Nosotros bailamos, we dance. And el hombre y la mujer bailan. The man and the woman, they are dancing, bailan. I'm talking about the two of them together, okay? Pagar, muy importante. Pagar es un verbo importante. Pagar is a really important verb. It means to pay. Not to buy, but to pay. Pagar, pagar. And if you want to think of pay, begins with P, and pagar begins with a P, okay, that happens to work out this time. Pagar. We take off the AR ending to use this. ¿Cómo paga usted? How are you paying? Meaning, are you paying with cash, con efectivo, with cash, or con tarjeta, with a card? Right? You pay with cash, or you're paying with some kind of a card, a debit or a credit card. But pagar will have predictable forms. Pago, pagas, for tú, paga, el hombre paga, nosotros pagamos, ellos pagan, they're paying. Bien? Okay. I've got a few more. You can look at a few more down here. And I'll send these with translations, okay? Bien. Ayudar, to help, because that's kind of an important verb. Often we ask for help. Estudiar, to study, necesitar, to need, etc. Trabajar, to work, esperar, to wait for. And the for is built into that verb esperar. So when you use esperar, you don't need the word for. The for, the idea of for is built into that verb, esperar. Esperar. But these are all regular AR verbs. So what I'm going to want you to do is to get familiar with what these mean, and I'll send you this visual link. It's a good idea just to connect the idea with the drawing. So you start to visualize, what does this action mean? Okay, and I'll give you all the English with this and send it. All right, okay. We're going to take a look at some common ER verbs. Ooh, wrong one. ¿Dónde está? Oops. And I'm going to show you at the bottom, there are going to be some prompts. So what I want you to do later on as part of your homework is to see if you can give at the bottom of this page, at the bottom of the, where is it, my AR page? At the bottom of this page, I'm going to have some prompts. So at like between now and next week, Tuesday at 8 a.m., I want you to see if you can do the conjugations down below the pictures later on, okay? I give you one example. I want you to see if you can get the verb in the right form, and then also tell me what it means in English. You'll be doing that eventually for homework, okay? At the bottom of these picture pages. And you'll have the example at the top. And I'll write this all out in the email. Okay, you're going to have the same thing down here. But we're going to take a look at what these mean. What the verbs themselves mean. If we look at this picture, comer means to eat. Como, comes, come, comen for more than one person. Comemos for we. Leer, to read. And here's an important thing to know about leer. When we conjugate leer, that ER comes off, but there's an E that stays there. So when I conjugate this, I have to have that LE together. They start off. So it'll be, por ejemplo, I'm going to give you some examples. Leo, les, le. When you see two E's next to each other, and here two E's next to each other, they won't stop between the two E's. They'll just drag the E sound out. So Leo goes from E to O. Okay, you can hear this, Leo. But the next word is les. And I just drag the E sound out longer. Les, le. For more than one person doing it, it's leen. And for nosotros, it's leemos. Okay, that one is a little tricky only because you've got that double E sound in a lot of the forms. Just drag the E sound out if you've got a double E, okay? Bien. Here we go. These two verbs, and I put two verbs here. This is a little problematic. Comprender is to understand. Entender is also to understand, but you're going to be conjugating the underlined one because entender is irregular. And it's going to do a funky, weird thing. We'll talk about it next week. When you practice this verb, you're going to be practicing with the regular one. Comprender, comprender. Oddly, entender, the irregular one, is actually more commonly used, but it's got a funky change. So we're not going to go there yet. You're going to be using comprender. Vender, vender es to sell. Responder es
Answer.
to respond. There is a different verb that means to answer, but this is a nice, easy ER verb. And it means to respond. Beber, to
Drink.
drink. And it can be used for drinking water, drinking alcohol. Yeah, okay. Vivir, vivir, to live, okay? Abrir, now we're looking at IR verbs.
Open.
Because remember, ER and IR verbs are going to share most, but not all. Most of the endings. They will not share those nosotros endings, but they will share the other ones. Vivir, to live. Abrir, to open. Escribir, to write. But the same principle happens. We take off the IR, we'll add the right ending. We take off the IR, we add the right ending. We take off the IR, we add the correct ending. So escribir will sound like escribo, escribes, escribe, escriben for more than one person. And then when I put yo into a group, it becomes escribimos. Escribimos. Okay. Whereas beber, because it's an ER verb, it'll share most, but it's going to do a different thing for nosotros. So it becomes bebo, bebo, bebes, bebe for one person, beben for more than one person. But if I put yo into the group and it's nosotros, it's bebemos. So bebemos, hemos ending, but escribimos, imos ending for nosotros, okay? Bien? So when I send you off to practice, you're gonna try to use the words I've got up here, down below, and you're gonna conjugate it for that human being, whoever that human being is, okay? I should really put the ustedes afterwards here. Bien? A ver. And
Can I
you know,
just, when,
sí,
you
sí.
know, when I hardly know any Spanish, but habla inglés, that fits what you're saying, the or vamos, like let's, us. Those are
Vamos,
the words that most
let's.
people know.
Yes.
So those
Yes.
fit, which is
So
nice.
I know this is going to sound like a lot, but I'm going to have you practice these. I'm going to have you also, I'm going to have two links. I'm going to show you how this works. You won't hear the sound. When you actually go to this, you're going to hear a sound. But so the little sound is entertaining. You're going to match up just the infinitive with what that action is first. Okay.
They are.
Bailar, yeah. But now notice, don't pronounce it as bail.
Oh,
I
right.
know we've got an English word bail. We have to pronounce every vowel. Bailar. Okay, this is one that wasn't on your list, but so you'll be guessing here.
Nadar.
This one is nadar.
Swim.
Oh,
Hablar por
Or
teléfono.
telefono.
hablar por teléfono.
Can you use your phone or speaking?
La 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 la.
Cantar.
Cantar.
Is cantar. That one I think is in your book. Here we go. Oh, this one is tough.
Ir a la escuela.
I'm going to give you a separate video on how to use ir because that was on the very first list I showed you. Ir is very irregular, like ser is very irregular, like estar is very irregular. But how often do you use go? All the time. So, okay, this one is
Tocar la guitarra.
tocar la guitarra. Playing an instrument is tocar. Oh, this one is a borrowed word.
No. Patinar.
Esquiar. It's
Oh,
it's from borrowed from ski. Esquiar.
Correr.
Correr, to run. Notice we're not conjugating yet. We're just, what is this?
practicar deporte.
Practicar deportes. That's the best fit. Practicing sports. I know it's playing soccer, but okay. Okay. Ooh, choose 3 ways. We need 3. 3 ways.
Top 3.
A-R-E-R.
R-E-R-E-R, not LOL. Okay, yeah, I know that's put in as a joke. Choose all the conjugations for AR regular present tense. Okay. Present tense just means it's happening now. All the ones that belong to AR verbs.
Amos, son.
You know what?
Oh.
All of them are. Oh, what a gimme that one was. But you know, by the time you recycle through, ooh, which subject pronouns mean
Ustedes.
you all? Ustedes.
Vosotros.
And
Vosotras.
these 2 also mean you all, but they only use them in Spain. Yeah, so if you get that one wrong, no biggie. Oh, which subject pronoun or pronouns are singular? They talk about one human being.
Yo.
ABC.
Yo,
Tú.
tú.
And L.
Ella.
Those
tú.
talk about one human being.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why that singular plural thing is important, because singular verbs will do one. So you're going to get one that does this. You're going to get one where it will actually ask you to look at a conjugation instead. And it will tell you the right answer when you get it. Okay. Bien? It'll show you your answers. Okay. So you're going to have that. And then you're going to have, you know, at the end of this little AR picture thing, try to get these into the right form. And, you know, write it down or print out. Don't print out all, don't waste your nice colored ink on that. Put it in black and white. Yeah. Or just print this bottom part of the page and see if you can do these. And we'll come back and look at what these answers are next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Make sense? See?
See.
Okay. I'm going to throw in one extra verb. Shoot. I'm going to throw in a video because it's going to talk about, donde? I can't find my video. It's going to talk about, it's going to give you the chart. It's going to talk about ir, to go, because to go is such an essential verb. And it's an oddball verb. It's a weird verb, like ser is weird, like estar is weird, like tener is weird. It's irregular, but it will be easy because they all start with V. And the trick, the mental trick to help you remember that ir, to say somebody is going, is we go in a van. We go in a van. That helps you remember that they are all going to start with V, even though ir doesn't have a V. A bit chica. It doesn't have it, but it's what it uses. So you'll see it. And actually, when you see it, you're like, oh, I kind of see a weird pattern here, even though it doesn't really have a pattern. It will kind of make sense. And we'll come back and practice that next week, Tuesday. Make sense? Bien?
Sí,
Uh,
sí.
Todo bien, all good. Okay, excelente, fantástico. Entonces, I'll send you an email with all of this stuff and all of these links and the links to practice for homework. I'll put it in a homework section and we're all good.
Can I ask a question about January? What day of the week will the January class be on?
Oh, no sé, I don't know that yet.
Okay,
I can tell you it will not be like super fast after New Year. So,
Okay.
if you're traveling and you're thinking, oh, shoot, I'm coming back on November 3rd. No worries. I'm sure it'll be.
you mean January?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be the second week of January. It might
Okay.
be late before we get to the teens, but it won't be like January 2nd.
That's
It's
fine.
not going to be that fast.
Okay, but, and you'll let
When
us know.
I find out, well, you may find out before I find out, honestly, because you'll probably get an email. Yeah, you'll get an email from Skazia before I will. They just know I'm going to be there, so they don't.
The
We
sign
know you'll
up is-
be there. We'll tell you
I
sometime.
think
Hillary?
the sign up is November 29th. The sign up for winter.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Makes sense to
Great.
me.
Yeah.
Because they want to plan. Yeah. So you know what? Yeah, you'll know you'll know around Thanksgiving time.
Mm-mm.
You'll know when that date will be. They'll tell you when registration is and they'll show you the dates. Bien. Okay. Gracias,
Gracias.
Hillary. Bueno, fantástico. Nos vemos. I'll see you guys later. Nos vemos.
Adios.
Bien. Adiós.